Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
And welcome to the ComiQueens podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie. And today we are back for a second installment for Manga March. I'm excited.
I am too.
There's a lot to talk about on this one, so I don't want to spend too much time on the intro, but if you didn't join us last episode, we are focusing on some of our manga from our growing TBR and our bookshelves.
Yeah.
Make sure that we can get through them and tell you whether or not they were worth the purchase. Go ahead and start us.
Okay, so the first one that I have today is called Dracula's on the Night Shift. I don't even have to tell you why I picked this one up. It is obvious.
Yeah.
It's a vampire story.
Really?
Now, I will say, this wasn't my absolute favorite vampire story. It's got some pros, got some cons. You would not like it because it's very action heavy.
Yeah. It would probably lose my interest.
Yeah. It is 3 volumes in one omnibus, but I couldn't find it anywhere individual volumes. Mm-hmm. The only way I could find it is like this. And it actually is the first volume of a light novel.
Okay.
And the light novel has no English version, so you can't continue on with the story. This is the only one that is available.
Do you feel like when you get to the end, you're like, okay, this is supposed to be like a prologue?
It doesn't feel really like a prologue. It feels like a part 1, though. It is pretty open-ended at the end, so it doesn't feel incomplete. But it is up to, like, interpretation on how you want the ending to be.
Yeah.
If you don't have the story available to read. If you could read the light novels, then, you know, you will know how it ends.
Yeah.
So this one is about Yura, and he is a vampire. He works the night shift at a convenience store, which you can pick up from the title. Mm-hmm. And he is kind of a loner vampire. He doesn't hang out with other vampires, really, but he is hunting for a specific vampire. Mm-hmm. And he gets along really well with his boss, but his boss is kind of having a rough time of it right now. His wife left him and his daughter because he is always working and, like, just never at home. The daughter is really mad and won't speak to him because she feels like the dad didn't really put up a fight for the family and that he does spend all of his time working. And you do see, like, he's sleeping at this convenience store a lot.
Oh my gosh.
So Yura is trying to comfort him, but also knows that the sun is coming up and he's gonna have to leave. So he takes him out and gets a drink together, and then he's like, all right, I have to go. Like, I'm sorry, but I have to go.
Yeah.
So he leaves and he sees a girl getting attacked in an alley. And the girl that is getting attacked, her name is Iris. He sees that it's, like, multiple people trying to attack her, and he's like, all right, I know the sun is about to come up, but I have to help out. Like, I can't just leave her. Yeah. So he goes to try and help, and it's one vampire and 2 other humans who are his lackeys. Mm-hmm. So he ends up getting the vampire killed by having him turn into ash when the sun comes up. Mm-hmm. And Yura also turns into ash because the sun has come up. And there's a note in his pocket that says, if you find these ashes, put them in a baggie and take them to this address. So Iris does that. And in this story, vampires don't die from sunlight. They just turn into ash. But if you leave their ashes, then they can turn back into vampires.
Okay.
So that's what happens. And he wakes up the next day and he's like, what happened? I turned into ash. Usually it takes, like, weeks to recover from this. What happened? And they don't really ever explain what happened.
Oh, okay.
But he does meet Iris, and she is part of the Dark Cross Knights. And this is a group that hunts phantoms. So they hunt vampires, they hunt werewolves and ghosts and just anything that is supernatural.
Yeah.
And she is from the office in the UK, but she has been kicked out to this office. It's like a remote location. She kind of got shuffled out there because she wasn't very good at her job. Mm. And the reason she's not very good at her job is because she's terrified of men and can't speak to them. But she doesn't have a problem speaking to Yura because he's a vampire, and she's like, I know that I could kill you if I needed to, so it's fine. Like, I can't just kill any random man, but I could kill you, so it's okay.
She's got her morals. Yeah. Okay.
So she asks him, like, will you help me with this case? So Yura's like, okay, I guess I'll help you. And she ends up like weaseling her way into his apartment. She's like, okay, I'm going to stay here because if I have to go talk to a hotel clerk, like, what if it's a man? I'm not going to be able to do that. And he's like, fine, okay, you can stay here.
Gosh.
And so they end up going on this like little mystery adventure together to try and find out more information about this vampire who is running this scheme. And he owns a nightclub. And so they go to this nightclub. They're trying to figure out how they can attack him and like bring him back to the Dark Cross Night. And so they come up with this plan. They interact with a werewolf. We also get another character. Her name is Miharu, and she is from a very established family that controls the supernatural, specifically in their location. And she and Yura are promised to each other. She loves Yura. She's like, I am going to be with you forever. And Yura is trying to turn back into a human. So
we'll see how that works.
Yeah, Miharu is like, I don't like that at all. So there's a little bit of a love triangle going on with Iris and Miharu, and they do end up catching that vampire, and then they get a lead on the vampire that Yura wants to hunt down, which is his, like, mother vampire, the person who turned him into a vampire. And the reason that he wants to hunt her down is because if he drinks her blood, then he can turn back into a human.
Oh.
And you also find out that Yura's younger brother he's old now. He's a grandpa because he's been a vampire for like 70 years at this point.
Oh my gosh.
And his brother and his family are still trying to help Yura turn back into a human. So his brother was the police chief. Now his nephew is the police chief. And they're like trying to help him out. So all of this stuff happens. They find the mom. They have this like showdown with the mom on a yacht. And the mom ends up leaving because she's like a super vampire. They can't get her. They can't beat her. She has 2 hearts. So they got one of her hearts. But she's like, haha, I have 2. Goodbye.
She's like a cow.
Yeah.
Cows have all those stomachs. And she's got all those hearts.
So she gets away and they still are on the hunt. And Iris decides that she gets offered to go back to the UK, and she's like, no, I think I'm going to stay here. And so she moves into the apartment right next to Yura, and Yura's like, ugh, really? You're just going right next door?
Yeah.
And that's really where it leaves off. So it leaves off pretty open. Like, they're going to go find the mom. She's going to continue working. So it's like kind of up for interpretation of like what happens at the end, but it was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't my favorite, and I think like the open-endedness of it is really why. Like,
for me, I feel like that's too much unknown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like too much left unsaid.
Which is why like this is only one part of a light novel. So that's why it feels unknown. I feel like because at least this story arc was concluded, like you can continue it on as almost like just one episode of a story. So that's kind of how I'm thinking of it. It was cute, but not my favorite.
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll get the English translation and you can finish. You'll be like 80 years old. You'll be like, look, I found it. Well, my approach for this episode was, since I did one-shots for episode 1, this is episode 2, and I had a few duologies staring me in the face. So I decided to focus on some duologies for this one. The first one that I read is My Dear Agent, Volume 1 and 2. This is by Ebino Bisque, and it's published by Tokyo Pop. I have owned this one. These are probably some of the first boy loves that I've ever actually purchased.
Yeah.
So that being said, it's been a while. And I have had them staring me in the face. The covers are beautiful. It definitely looked right up my alley, but for some reason, just everything got put in front of it. So today was that day.
Yeah.
This story follows Ricci. He is a chief private security officer for this Chable family's heir. And so he grew up with this family. He was treated as if he was going to be the secret agent that is responsible for taking care of this child when they were both children.
Yeah.
So he's almost just like an older brother. The Chable family takes care of him, and he is very involved with this family.
I feel like that's a storyline I've seen before where they put them together at a very young age so that the protector will develop a bond with who they're supposed to protect, and like they will want to give their life for the other one.
Yeah. And it works. He loves Nobuyaru. Nobuyaru is a spoiled brat, and Richi's not very good at putting his foot down. So he very much so just kind of lets Nobuyaru do whatever he wants, unless it puts him in danger. You know, like he's a big safety advocate, but he's not so much like, I can't tell you to not cheat with your best friend's girlfriend. Like, that's a shitty thing to do, but who am I to tell you what to do other than like the big brother figure, and you should probably do that. But we won't get there. But Richi is having a kind of hard time right now because he loves his work. He's very involved with it, but he's also training somebody named Tachibana. And Tachibana is a shameless flirt who will not let him focus on the job. Tachibana at every turn is like, I'll do my job and do a really good job if you go on a date with me. And he's like constantly bargaining. And Richi's like, that's not what this is.
Oh my God.
Like, we hired you. You should do the job anyways.
Yeah.
And so Tachibana's like, I just feel like my focus would be a lot better if I had something to look forward to, you know?
Yeah.
So Richi's like, I don't play these games. Tachibana is games. So it's going great. But not only that, since he needs a lot more training, everyone's like, he should just room with you at the dorms so that he like can learn from the best.
Yeah.
And Richi's like, shit. And so Tachibana is pushing for a date. And they end up going out, and Tachibana ends up catching somebody who is trying to hurt Nobuyasu. And so in the golden retriever energy that he puts out, he's like, okay, do I get a date now? Can I have a date? Please go on a date with me. Go do all these special things.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't end up working out for him because Nobuyasu ends up wanting to go out with his friends. So Richi's like, sure, I'll go out with you. We'll both go out with Nobuyasu and make sure that him and his friends are safe while they're at the bar. And while they're there, Nobuyasu's ex-best friend approaches him and is like, you fucked around with my girlfriend. And so they're like, oh, this is not going to end well.
This
He's
is a
hostile.
fuck around and find out situation.
And Tachibana's like, I say we don't step in. And Richi's like, yeah, we do. He's going to hurt Nobuyasu. That's literally what we're hired to do. So Richi gets the guy away from him, and the friend like is yelling obscenities, and he's pissed off, obviously. And he's like, I mean, you guys had broken up for like a week. I didn't even like cheat with her. Like,
oh my gosh.
And so Tachibana goes up to Nobuyasu and goes, you need to go apologize to him. Nobuyasu's like, who do you think you are? You think you could just tell me what to do? And Tachibana goes, yeah, it was a dick move. Go apologize. And so he ends up guilting him into apologizing to his friend. And he and the friend make up. And they realize, like, Nobuyasu acted out because his friend wasn't spending that much time with him. So he was like, that'll get my friend's attention.
Yeah.
Very spoiled brat energy. But then Nobuyasu looks back and he goes, oh, and by the way, Tachibana, you're fired. Like, don't ever tell me what to do again. So Richi's like, all right, I guess, you know, you'll stay the night in the dorms and then you're getting fired. And then it turns out that Tachibana comes back the next day. They're like, but I thought you lost your job. And he's like, well, actually, I was hired by the CEO and not Nobuyasu. And they still want me employed here. So he didn't even get to fire me.
Oh my gosh.
And Nobuyasu ends up kind of developing a relationship with Tachibana now. Like seeing him as like a big brother and kind of more as like a moral figure, guiding him towards like making the right decisions. And so there are multiple different things that they go through with Nobuyasu. Like they notice him giving large sums of money away. And they're like, hey, your bank account is draining like really quickly for your regular allowance. And he's just like, well, that's not abnormal. I just spend my money. And it turns out that someone scammed him into thinking that this person he cared about from his past had gotten injured and he needed money for a lawyer. And so he was just giving bags of money to this guy on the street.
Oh my gosh.
And so they're like, stop doing that. What the hell? Like, absolutely not. However, the focus starts to shift towards Ricci developing like an admiration for Tachibana for sticking to his morals. And Ricci's like, you do something that I didn't feel like I could do, which is, you know, putting my foot down towards Nobuyasu. Like, we have an established relationship. I have like a genuine love for him as a little brother, but like I haven't been able to like step in and coach him or like mentor him.
Yeah.
Like, I see myself as a protector and not as like somebody who can like stand my ground and tell him that he's wrong. And so he starts to appreciate what Tachibana brings to the table with this. And they do end up developing a relationship slowly. Basically, they form a romantic relationship. And then when they end up expressing their feelings to one another, Ricci realizes that it's kind of weird that he can't find any information on Tachibana. Like, his secret agent stuff in the background is like, something's weird. Like, he just popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I can't find any information on like his life before this. And you find out that he is the bastard son of the CEO. And so that's how he got the job. So now Ricci's like, I'm fucking the boss's kid.
Oh my gosh.
So in volume 2, Ricci feels like maybe he's walking on eggshells, but also is trying to understand where Tachibana is coming from. And is like, you're the CEO's son? And he's like, yeah. Like, it's fine. Whatever. He owes me because he didn't take care of me for my whole life.
Yeah.
And I wanted a job, so he gives me money and like whatever. And he starts to realize some things about Tachibana and like how immature he is. Because Tachibana gets a large sum of money, like gets paid way more than Ricci does. And he buys like this new sports car. And then he's like, oh, well, I don't have enough money for rent. I'm going to have to keep staying with you in the dorm.
Oh my God.
And so Ricci's like, maybe don't buy a fucking $80,000 sports car with your money, you know?
Yeah.
So they have like their little quarrels, mostly because they're like an opposites attract situation. But after expressing their mutual feelings, Tachibana ends up just deciding, he's like, you know what, we can't be together, because if the CEO finds out about our relationship, he's going to either expect more from me or he's going to like take something out on you. So I'm just going to disappear. And you find out that he's originally from Brazil. So he moves back to Brazil without telling Ricci, just like disappears off the face of the planet. Fortunately, Ricci's a secret agent and he has some resources. He's like, I'm gonna find you. Like, you coward. How dare you run away from me? And he ends up having a call with Tachibana where he's like, I really don't care what the CEO does to me. Like, he could fire me and I would figure something else out.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, this is like, you literally were raised to do this. Like, this is everything that you've been meant to do your whole life. Who am I to throw your plans off course? He's like, I just came back into my dad's life because I wanted money to support my siblings. So, like, you know, it's no skin off my back. I just don't want my dad to have these expectations for me. I can't meet whatever. And so this entire time, like, the CEO is painted as this, like, overbearing and really just, like, malicious person. And in the end, Tachibana ends up coming back. Ricci at the same time is like, I'm going to Brazil. I'm going to get that bastard. How dare he run away from me? And like, they cross paths in the airport. So, like, Tachibana had just come back and Ricci was about to leave. And he's like, maybe you should have fucking told me. I almost ended up in Brazil by myself because you didn't tell me you were coming back. And Tachibana's like, oh, I guess my text didn't go through. I don't know. But yeah, I'm here now. It's fine. And it turns out that all the CEO wants is for him to keep doing his job.
Yeah.
Like, he's not this overbearing parent. Tachibana just doesn't know him very well. So he was like, I don't know, he could be an asshole. And the CEO's like, I'm so glad that you brothers are back together. You keep him safe now. And that's it. And then basically Ricci's like, never fucking run away again.
Oh my gosh.
You asshole. The end. I love them. They're perfect. This story was so precious. I'm sad that it took me this long to read it, but I adored them as characters. It was fantastic.
I'm glad you loved it.
Yeah.
And that you finally read it.
There's also like a little side blurb where you find out, he's like, if you were the CEO's son, how have I never met you? Like, I've been involved in Nobuyasu's life his entire life.
Yeah.
And Tachibana says, I've only been to that house like once. Like, my mom went to demand money, and he, like, threw some money in my mom's face. And then she was like, okay, we're leaving. And I didn't even go into the house.
Yeah.
Like, she just stormed us back to Brazil. And so you realize, like, Ricci has a flashback to, oh my gosh, you were the bratty kid who sat outside the steps. And then when I asked you who you were and why you were there, you punched me. But the only thing that Ricci cared about was whether or not Nobuyasu was safe. So he was like, if you want to take out your anger on someone, you can punch me again. It's okay.
Oh my gosh.
So Tachibana and Ricci remember this. But Tachibana had, like, long hair and was, like, dressed in, like, summer clothes from Brazil. And so you find out at the end that Nobuyasu's first crush, he's like, I hope that beautiful girl who punched you in the face is doing well.
Oh, that's funny.
And then Tachibana whispers to Ricci, and they're both, like, laughing about it. And Nobuyasu's like, what? Not realizing that it was Tachibana the whole time. It's so cute.
Oh my gosh. I love that little side story. That's so funny.
I know. I just love them. It was a really fun one. I'm glad that I read it.
Good. The next one that I have is a mystery.
Ooh.
And I'm going to leave it as a mystery for you. So I'm not going to tell you everything that happens.
Ooh.
So this is called My Gemini. It's a single volume. And this is about a guy named John Utterson and his two best friends who are twins, Jekyll and Hyde Stevenson.
Oh boy, what names?
Yeah. So, John is kind of a little nerdy. He's a little redhead, got huge glasses.
Just as an aside, it's so weird to hear Jekyll and Hyde as, like, these very specific first names, and then just Stevenson.
Yeah.
Like, just Smith. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels kind of mismatched to me, but in a funny way.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So they're from a very well-off family, too.
Yeah.
They all go to a boarding school, and the twins are just, they're obsessed with John, but not in, like, a weird way. They just, like, both love him and think that he's just a great guy, and John's kind of like, they're both really popular. John's a little bit nerdy, so he's like, I don't know why they're, you know, friends with me or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you just see them, like, hanging out. It opens up with Jekyll and Hyde trading places. So you see that they play this game a lot where they pretend to be each other. And John is the only one who can tell them apart.
I feel like that would have to be the perk of having an identical twin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But John, not buying it.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you're Jekyll and you're Hyde. Like, quit lying. And calls them out on it all the time. So then tragedy happens and Jekyll dies in an accident.
Oh my gosh.
So John is at this funeral with them and it's really sad. Obviously, Hyde is distraught because this is his twin.
Yeah.
So some time passes and John is still with Hyde. And one day he gets a glimpse and he thinks that Hyde is Jekyll. He's like, okay, that was a weird, like, I've never been confused about them before, but he's acting like Jekyll. So I'm confused.
Yeah.
Then John starts getting letters from Jekyll. And at first he doesn't know what to do. He's like, I can't go to Hyde about this because I don't want to upset him.
Well, so when he sees Hyde, he's thinking Hyde is Jekyll.
Not all the time. It was just like one time.
Okay.
He thought it was. And then he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been confused about them before. I've never had a second thought on which one is which.
But now I'm confused.
But now I'm a little confused. It's weird that I'm getting these letters from Jekyll. And he does eventually talk to Hyde about it. And Hyde says that it was him writing the letters and he was just playing a prank. So
I don't believe it.
So the twins used to go on these night walks. They would go out into the gardens and just kind of like walk around, and they were blonde and tall and like almost a little like feminine looking. So they looked very ethereal.
Yeah.
And just like two ghosts walking around. So they're out on this night walk. Hyde is finally convinced John to go out with him. Usually John's like, no, absolutely not. I'm not going out at night. But now that Jekyll's gone, he's like, okay, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
And he sees a ghost in the window. So they go and investigate it. And it turns out to be a painting from one of the prefects. And his name is Benjamin. So there's two, Benjamin and Rouge. And Benjamin made paintings of the twins because he saw them going on these night walks. And he's like, they look gorgeous. They're just beautiful. And I wanted to paint them. So I did. And so that's why they thought it was a ghost, was because the painting was up there. And while they're on their way back from this investigation, Rouge pulls Hyde aside and gives him a message that's like, you need to come to this office with me. Like, he's waiting to hear from you, but doesn't say anything else. And so Hyde...
I don't think he should go to that office.
Hyde is like, I don't know what's happening. Like, why did Rouge was never close with him. I have no idea why this is happening. So Hyde is now thinking like, okay, I think Jekyll was keeping secrets from me. And I need to figure out what's going on. And so at first he thinks it's a teacher. So he's like, okay, let me look at all of the teachers that Rouge and Jekyll had in common.
Yeah.
And there's only two. And neither one of them are acting like they are the person who gave this message. So he's like, all right, we have to start over again. And so you are trying to figure out like this hidden life that Jekyll apparently had that he was keeping from Hyde. And Hyde is distraught about this. He's we were together all the time.
How did you even have time for a secret life?
Yeah, we knew everything about each other. I have never in my life thought that I didn't know everything about my twin. And now I feel that. And John is kind of feeling the same way because he is still kind of confused on like which one of the twins this is. Yeah. He's like, I think it's Hyde, but sometimes I think it's Jekyll. And I have never felt that way before. Oh my gosh. So the mystery kind of unfolds. You see some flashbacks of the twins. So you see their past. And you see why they started doing this was because Hyde was a super, super bubbly personality. And Jekyll was kind of more stoic and reserved. And so when they were little, Hyde was treated much better by everyone. Other students, other family, everyone around him. His parents treated Hyde much better. And so Jekyll was upset and he felt like he hated Hyde. And he hated himself for hating his twin too. And so Hyde sought him out and like they talked about this and Hyde was like, okay, well, if you don't want to be Jekyll, be me. We'll trade. Yeah. And so that's when they started doing this thing where they just pretended to be each other. Yeah. And they kept notebooks so that they could keep track of who had what conversation with who because they did this all the time. Yeah. And they met John one day in the library. And so they met him once. It was an old library. John was like, it was the only place he wanted to work because there was no one around and he didn't want to have to interact with a bunch of people. Yeah. And so you see a flashback of him too when he first meets the twins and he meets them and he talks to them and then they come back and he's like, no, you're the other twin. Like he already knows. And they're like, what are you talking about? No. And so he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like I didn't mean to do that, but he was right. And so then they're like, we have to step up our game. If he can tell who we are, then we have to do better. And so they do tell him, like, what they do. They tell him about the game, and they kind of bring him in on it. And so the rest of the story is just trying to figure out what secrets were had between all three of these characters and why they were keeping secrets from each other and also which twin is alive and which twin is not.
I love it.
It's so good. It's like, it's a shorter one, but it is just like a perfect little bite-sized mystery. I loved this one.
I want to read this one so bad.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, you'll have to borrow it.
Yeah.
And let me know what you think.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted. It sounds so good. Okay, so the last duology that I have for us today is called Love on the Horizon. This is by Machi Yamashita, and it's published by Kodansha. This story is S tier for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not even like spoilers ahead, obviously. I adored this one, so I'm really excited to get into it. Mm-hmm. This one has a really short volume 1, and then volume 2 is pretty bulky. So I thought that was very interesting to like give you just like kind of a small snippet up front and then give you the majority of the story in volume 2.
Yeah.
But volume 1 was super easy to digest. The story follows Nagi Kitagawa, also known as Nagi-chan, and he is a freshman college student. He is not very social. So he has trouble like fitting in. He is very nervous being in college and being on his own. And he's living in like this small little apartment. And it kind of is starting out in not a great way because he goes grocery shopping and it starts pouring rain. Mm-hmm. And he's by himself and he's like, great, I'm going to have to walk back in the pouring rain to get my groceries home. And as he's starting to walk, this upperclassman has an umbrella and like puts it over the both of them. And his name is Yu-san. And Yu is like, just walk home with me under this umbrella. And he's like, I'll go with you as long as the way. And you can even have the umbrella the rest of the way. Mm-hmm. So they start talking and getting to know each other. And Nagi just has this admiration for him. Like, he's a really seemingly cool guy. He's really nice. And he develops like a very quick crush on Yu. And so when they get to Nagi's apartment, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. You ended up walking me the whole way. Yu's like, oh, I live here. And they learn that they're neighbors. Mm-hmm. So Nagi's like, oh my gosh, I like live right next to you. That's so cool. And as they go to school, their departments are like, they're both in the same club. They're both in the same department. But obviously there's a little bit of a disconnect because of the age difference. Mm-hmm. So Yu was like 2 years older than him. And Nagi keeps running into him at all these events. And everyone loves Yu-san. Like, he is a mentor to a bunch of different people. He's super nice. And when Nagi is offered a drink, Nagi realizes that he doesn't want to drink it. And Yu sees him from across the way and takes the drink and drinks it for him so that he's not put in that weird position. But Yu has been talking to other people about Nagi. And they're like, oh, Yu has told us so much about you. And also now he's drunk and he says that you're his next door neighbor. Do you want to take him home? And so Nagi takes him home, and it becomes well established that Yu likes to go out and party, not so good at taking care of himself. Mm-hmm. So Nagi almost becomes like his personal caretaker, and he's really struggling to figure out how to express his feelings and what his feelings are for Yu. But in a wholesome way, thank goodness. So like a lot of what ends up happening, like he'll get Yu home and then he just kind of like stays and like sees him sleeping and is like internal monologuing about how he wishes that he could express himself. And you find out that Yu is almost doing this on purpose because he wants Nagi to take him home. Mm-hmm. Like, he likes being close. And usually Nagi ends up, like, Yu doesn't want him to leave. So Yu will, like, tug on his arm. And he's like, don't leave. You could just stay. And so they, like, lay on the bed together and cuddle or whatever. And Yu falls asleep. And so Nagi usually leaves in the morning. But one day Yu kind of calls him out on it. And he's like, did you stay the night last night? And Nagi goes, no, why would I do that? That'd be so weird if I did that. And he's really awkward about it. And so once they realize that like their unspoken affections for one another, Yu has another drunken stupor. Nagi walks him home, and in the normal fashion, Yu is like, don't leave. And then Nagi kind of like gets emotional and he's like, you have to stop asking this of me because I really like you. Mm-hmm. And Yu's face like lights up and he kisses him. And so once they like wake up the next day, Nagi's gone and Yu is like, I know that happened. I know that there's something there. And Nagi is avoiding him entirely. So Yu's like, maybe I misread the situation. Like, maybe we don't mutually like each other. Maybe I was drunk and I made that up in my head and I forced a kiss on him and he didn't like it. And so they end up confronting each other. And Yu is like, stop avoiding me. And Nagi's like, I just like you so much. And I don't want to feel like it's not, like it's just me. And Yu is like, oh no, I love you. Like I have loved you since I've seen you. And so they both just have these really adorable mutual feelings for each other, and they start to date. In the beginning of volume 2, their love story continues. It's still extremely wholesome, but it is navigating some more complexities because Yu-san is 2 years older, so he's actually looking at graduating.
Yeah.
And Nagi-san is still continuing his education. Yu-san doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life, but he wants Nagi to be a part of it. So the entire time, he's trying to figure out, is it too early to ask to move in together? Is it too early to try to make my life's plans around being with Nagi? Mm-hmm. Like, how soon is too soon? How much is too much? Like, they've also been intimate, but they're kind of working through intricacies there because they haven't gone, like, the whole way with one another, mostly to try to, like, ease Nagi in and, like, not potentially hurt anybody or, like, put anybody in, like, a weird position.
Yeah.
So they work through a lot of those kind of, you know, just awkward moments together. And Nagi also gets notification that his lease is up. And so he's going through the exact same internal monologue, like, what do I do? How do I ask him to move in together? And it gets to be, like, a few days before the deadline of renewing his lease. And Yu-san asks him to come to his art exhibition. And so Nagi shows up, and Yu basically uses that opportunity as, like, a proposal. He's like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I feel kind of like a failure for having gone through school this whole time and not, like, having a company lined up to work for or anything else. Mm-hmm. The only constant that I know is that I want you next to me the entire time. And they just have this, like, beautiful emotional time. You get to see their confidence grow with one another in the relationship and in themselves. It's so beautiful. It's, like, the most adorable bite-sized story of incredible self-growth and just, like, the beautiful growth of a relationship. I loved it. It was absolutely perfect.
Sounds really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cute the entire time. I was like, oh my gosh. And I multiple times had to show my husband panels to be like, look at how cute they are. And he's like, yes, they're cute.
I'm going to have to bring it away from the cute because the last story that I'm talking about is not cute.
It's okay. It's enough cute for the whole episode. So.
It is a really good story, though. This one is called Stardust Family, and it's a single volume. It's a longer one. Mm-hmm. So it's got a lot of, like, meat to the story.
Yeah.
But this is about a world where parents have to get a license to be able to have children.
We don't have time to unpack all of that, but I'm not saying that's the worst idea in the world.
So how you get this license is there are multiple stages you have to go through. You have to go through all of these tests, and then the last one is a home visit. Mm-hmm. And the home visit is done by a group of children who live in a facility and are essentially raised and taught to be these interviewers or investigators. Mm-hmm. And so they go to all of these different houses and they stay there for 2 weeks at a homestay. And then at the end, they determine if they pass or fail and get to have a parent license. So
I love this concept already.
Our main character, Hikari, he is one of these children who is an investigator. Mm-hmm. And so it's at the end of his homestay. They try and act out on purpose to push potential parents to their breaking limits to see what they do. So, like, you see him, the parents give him this huge feast. They're like, we know it's your last day here. Like, we wanted to give you all of your favorite foods. And he just knocks it off the table and is like, thank you. And the parents are like, we're so glad that you came to stay. And so they
reacted better than I would have. I'll tell you that right now.
I know. So he does end up going and he passes them. And then he gets back to the facility and you see him interacting with one of his other, like, colleagues, really. And this
children colleagues.
This child colleague. And he has an eye patch over his eye where you see that, like, he was at a home where the situation did not go well, and they ended up pulling him out early because he got attacked.
Oh, my gosh.
And so Hikari is getting ready to go to his next family. Mm-hmm. And he gets there, and there's a ton of steps going up to the shrine. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, I guess I have to walk up here. And so he walks up all the steps. He's exhausted. He's like, this is awful. Like, no kid is going to want to do this. Like, that's a negative mark for you guys.
They can't help where they live.
And so then you see the potential father. His name is Daika. And Daika comes to greet him and is like, you didn't have to do that. There's like, our house is around back. You were supposed to walk around the back. I thought that they were going to drop you off over there. So like, come in. So he goes into the house. He's like, this isn't the greatest house, but you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's got some cobwebs in it. It's just like not up to par.
Yeah.
And so he sits down. He's having his like intro interview with the kid. And the kid, Hikari, is not his real name. They don't give their real names. The parents are supposed to give them a name that they are using for these 2 weeks. And then also what they want to be called, like mom, dad, papa, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so he asks him, like, what do you want my name to be? And he's like, well, what do you want your name to be? And he's like, no, that's not how it works. Like, you have to decide. And he's like, no. Like, I want you to decide your name. So he eventually goes with Hikari just to end the conversation. And Daika is like, he's like, well, what do you want me to call you? Like, dad? And he's like, no, you can just call me Daika. And he's like, okay. And so then he's like, all right, look, I want you to fail us. And Hikari's like, what are you talking about? Like,
why would you apply for this license if you want me to fail you?
So he goes into his reasoning, and his reasoning is that he's getting a lot of pressure with his wife that they should be having children. And so he's like, I want to have a reason why we can't have children. And this is going to be our reason. And so Hikari's like, okay, but this is really a status symbol. Like, you're going to brand yourselves as pariahs because you have to get the license to have children, but you don't have to have children if you have the license. So essentially, it's used as a symbol to see if you're a good person or not.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you're going to fail on purpose. You don't want a family. And he's like, no, me and my wife are happy ourselves. We don't need anyone else. And then the wife comes in. Her name is Chisa, and she starts talking to Hikari. So he didn't get along with the dad, though, at all.
Yeah.
They got off on a bad foot, and now he's, like, wary of the mom. And also, it kind of seems like she's got some things going on, just a little odd. Like, she's kind of a little bit of an odd personality.
Okay.
And so Daiki says, okay, I've got this manual labor to do. Like, come help me out. And he's like, you're going to make me work? And he's like, yeah. What are you here for? Like, yeah, I'm going to make you work. So they go out. They're planting flowers. Like, it's working in the garden. Yeah. And usually people take him to, like, amusement parks, or they try and get on his good side, you know? So, like, they're taking him out to the beach and, like, doing all of this stuff. And this family doesn't care, so they're not doing that. Mm-hmm. And so...
Well, also, you almost have to respect it a little bit. Like, I know that for, like, 2 weeks, you can put on a face or whatever, take someone to an amusement park and try to make it seem fun. Mm-hmm. But the reality of it is you're probably going to ask your kids to help with chores if you're trying to teach them responsibility. So I'm almost like... I feel like that's not a bad parenting move.
Yeah. Like, the system has its flaws, obviously, and that's one of them. Mm-hmm. And Hikari even later on says, like, when every moment is, quote, a special moment, then none of them are. Yeah. Because going to the amusement park isn't a unique thing for him. It's not a special memory that he has. It's something that he does all the time. Yeah. So he does end up going to work in the garden with Daiki, and they end up getting into, like, a little fight. Like, not a bad one, but they're just, like, arguing about society and, like, needing these licenses and stuff. Mm-hmm. And really Daiki just saying, like, I don't care what society thinks. Like, I just want to be happy with my wife. And then they get into like a little water fight and they end up having like a really good time. Like you see them laughing and enjoying themselves. They're mad. Like you can see them mad at each other and then all of a sudden they just break out into laughter and they're both covered in water. And so they go in and Chisa wants to go to the beach.
Yeah.
So they all go to the beach, the three of them. And this is where Hikari asks Chisa, do you want me to fail this test too? And Chisa's like, no, I don't want that. And so they have a little back and forth where Daiki's like, he wanted them to fail on purpose and Chisa didn't want that. But you see her reasoning, and so you get some backstory from both of them. They have been together since they were kids. You see a picture of them where she's kind of just this little sullen girl, and he was super popular with everyone. And he's holding her hand, and she's like a little bit away from the group. You can tell she's kind of an outcast.
Aww.
And so you get her backstory and his by proxy, but she was raised by an unlicensed mother, and the mother had her help bury her other child. And so she was branded as being a bad person. And so when the mother went away to jail, she was sent to live with one of her uncles. And her uncle was the sensei for Daiki. So that's how they became friends.
Yeah.
And he right away was like, you can't have her stay with you. Like, she's a bad person. And the uncle is like, I want you to not think about what everyone else is saying. Why do you think that she's a bad person? And he gives the reasons about the unlicensed mom and the mom having murdered her other child. And the uncle's like, but what did Chisa do? Did she do that? Does that look bad on her? And he's like, well, no. And so he's like, okay, well, I want you to make your own decision.
Yeah.
Without being influenced by all this other stuff. And so that's why he becomes friends with her, and then eventually they fall in love.
Yeah.
And he stays by her side, and you can see them getting really close. They always hang out with the uncle because his family didn't like her, of course. She was an outcast.
Yeah.
And so on the uncle's deathbed, he promises that he will take care of Chisa forever. And so they kind of work through this where she's saying, I want to get a marriage license, not even to have kids, but just so that we can have the status of being a good person. And so that people will stop looking at you and think of me bringing you down. And he's like, I don't care about that. You know, like, I just want to be with you. It doesn't matter what all of these people think.
Yeah.
And so they talk it out, and they end up deciding, like, we don't want you to be influenced by us either way. We want you to just do what you normally would, and however you rate us, pass or fail, we will accept. And so he starts getting closer to them, and there's a festival that happens in the town, and he sees a past parent that he stayed with, and it was the first parent that he stayed with. And so you see from his perspective when he's learning all of the rules and regulations and everything, and he goes to stay with this mom, and she teaches him a bunch of things that he didn't know before, treats him really well, and says that she'll see him again. But she never comes back. She doesn't even recognize him now. And so he's upset by this, and you see his past where, like, he had to go through all of these bad homes, or he even went to good ones, but people are making him promises that they'll see him again and then never seeing him again. Yeah. So it's hard on him to see all of these parents kind of go through.
How old is he about? Do they say?
He looks elementary school aged.
Okay.
Like, they're young kids. And so Daiki and Chisa ends up saying, like, we want you to stay with us. And he's like, don't say that to me. Like, it's worse if you're nice to me than if you're mean.
Aww.
And so he ends up, like, giving his rating. Some other things happen that I'm not going to say because there's so much that comes out at the end. And it would ruin the whole story if I told you the ending of it. And it is so good. I cried at the end. I loved this one so much. It's got so much depth to the characters, and you just see the pitfalls of this type of society and the pros of it and the pitfalls of it, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful story.
That sounds so good.
I loved it. I loved it so much. I'm glad I picked this one up.
I want to read this.
Yeah. You're going to have to borrow this one and My Gemini.
Or just buy my own.
Or buy your own. Honestly, you might have to do that because I don't know if I can part with them.
Yeah, that's entirely fair. I think this was a success.
It was.
Go us.
Look at us. Who would have thought?
Me. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. And we're looking forward to talking to you all on the next one.
Goodbye.
Bye.